and so on and so forth. For the advantage of our listeners, the audience, we need to break down certain things to the general level of our audience. In economics, you see, economics actually is the study of allocation of scarce resources. That is why people tend to misunderstand economists, that they are very strange, they are haughty, and so on.
Let me use the general word. They are stingy.
Yes, they are stingy. But actually, it's not so. Economics, in actual sense, is the allocation of scarce resources amidst numerous needs. People who are in needs, numerous people demanding for example, if you have 100,000 naira and you have about 200 people coming to you, your relatives and so on, then it will be silly from within that 200,000 you give somebody 50,000, you give somebody 20,000. You have to share at least to a reasonable satisfaction to some people, to yourself and to some people. Take 200, you take 500, you take 1,000. You are coming from the fact you take 5,000. That is economics. And the economic principle is applied in economy. So you cannot understand economy without first understanding what economics is. And when you say economy, it's the application of economic system. So there are certain parameters, there are certain systems, there are certain guidelines, layouts that the economy must imbibe. Now, we talk of production in economics, in economy generally. The fundamental parameters, you have the production, you have to produce, you have the preservation, you have to preserve, you have the distribution, you have the consumption, you have the market, and so on and so forth. So these are the principles that underline the principle of economy. But when you talk of micro, these are economic inputs, either from individuals, from households, from farms. Generally, we call it business, from business line. So, but what we realize from the microeconomy of any nation is relatively small. But when you talk of macro, which we are now to discuss, macro is the focusing on the aggregate of the indicators of our economic frame, you see, at a larger level of consideration. So in other words, it is all embracing, it is the large scale phenomenon of all the inputs, all whatever comes in as a major source of income to a country. And that is where we have, in Nigeria, we have the oil and gas, we have the agriculture, the agricultural sector, the agricultural products, we have the mineral resources and so on and so forth. Now, when the president, Bola Tinubu, assumed office on 29th May 2023, fortunately, I was on a line program that day here. As soon as he announced that subsidy is gone, Orita of Belay that I used to take for 200, 300 jumped to 600 that day. Just
that is when you were coming here.
When I was coming here for the program.
Okay.
So we started feeling the adverse effects. And on that program that day, they asked me about the removal of oil subsidy, I said, well, it's too hasty. Tinubu shouldn't have done that at a go. It should have. It is very feasible that there have been fraud in the oil and gas sector. Good. It's very feasible. He verified that. He spotted that. Then it is also justifiable that he should remove subsidy, but not at a go. And it is justiciable that is under the law, he has the power to remove. But it was premature in the sense that, one, the time frame for the removal was to be 1st of July, because there had been subsidy paid up to the end of June last year. So he made a mistake. It was an error to have cancelled or to have removed the subsidy outright that time. Then number two, I was also telling people that this will create hardship, untold groans, because you have not sat down to see the extent of the fraudulent actions, and you have not found out the extent of blocking all these loopholes. There are a lot of Nigerians who have oil blocks, oil well. There is a lot of people that are involved in the transportation of all this crude oil from abroad. So you are not adequately he was not adequately guided before he did that one. But that as it may, the remover gave more money, but introduced a very disastrous groaning, hardship and poverty and inflation and all the like into the system, into the general public, into the society, though he was making money 5 times more than the previous administrations or governments we are making.
Okay. You know, like you said, there's so much hardship and groaning among Nigerians at the time this subsidy was removed. But don't forget that before a gold can be appreciated in the market, it has to go through fire. You understand that as well? Okay, I want to believe one of the major reasons why Tinubu administration did that is to ensure that the fraud and the fraudulent acts in that sector is being curbed to a certain level. I want to believe. So let me now ask this question. So far, so good. Can we say the reason why you said that there are more money than what the previous administration got? Okay, let's now look at it this way from the aspect of the masses, the downtrodden and the Nigerians as a whole. Can we say we really feel the positive impact? I'm not talking about government seeing more money now. Okay, government seeing more money. Do we feel the impact of that more money?
Yes, it's in dual basis. One, impact, positive impact, then the other, negative impact. Removal of subsidy, more money, yes. Positive impact to the government. But those benefiting from the more money are majorly the politicians. See, when I say politicians, going down from the presidency to each state let me say government, because money is not for the governor, it's for the state government. Going down from the presidency, and when I say presidency, it's not for Tinubu alone. going down from the presidency to the National Assembly to the state government and the local government, yes, more money from their previous allocations. It has catapulted fourfold. So we have money there. Then the negative effect to the people. The people now, apart from the removal of oil subsidy, there are some other stringent measures additional to the hardship created by the fuel, subsidy removal. So we have the broadening of the tax base. As from January next year now, it's compulsory for everybody to have your tax identification number, TIN. So if you don't have that, if you are not a civil servant, if you are not in the database of the government, so you will have more hardships to face, especially in transaction with banks, in transaction with government, and other things. So these are fill-outs from the subsidy removal, because the subsidy removal, at the end of the day, the federal government, the government realized that even with the subsidy removal, there was still need to subsidize through the back door, not made known to the general public, unannounced. So there are still subsidy. And the subsidy because there are certain loopholes that ought to have been blocked, but are difficult to block. For example, the importation of crude from abroad, because our refineries are not working. They are almost moribund. They are not working at all. And people, the staff there are idle. They've been paying for the past 4 years. They've been paying 120 billion naira every year for the staff for doing nothing. And they have spent trillions of naira on the refineries to make it operational, but it has not been possible because of the people sabotaging the efforts. So when you import, when the federal government imports from abroad, the barrels that they are importing, when they get to Nigeria to bath, they only bath, according to the record of Dangote, they bath only between 60 to 70%. The between 40 and 30% are shared. They are regarded as loots. They are shared among some mafias, some people, that some cabals, who would not want the subsidy, the refineries to work, and even the subsidy to be a larger part of the gains of the subsidy. So these are the problem, and realizing this, government has no option than to subsidize underground. So they are subsidizing, and like I said, it's again to those who are in the business of looting, who are, and they are high-profile people, but they are relatively few. They are not many, and those stealing our wealth in Nigeria, they are not up to 100 people.
Okay,
leaving over 200 million people to suffer.
Okay, let's now leave the issue of fuel. Let's talk about foreign exchange, and let's talk about inflation and economic growth. Latest trend in economic growth and inflation. Now, what are your thoughts on the current state of the economy?
Well, we only have to be very, very prayerful about the status of Nigeria as a sovereignty. So we need to pray fervently, because Nigeria is almost getting to a breaking point now. It's getting to a breaking point in the sense that even those in position of authorities, they seem to be confused. And once you are fighting a war and you are confused and you are having doubtful mind, then victory may not be at sight. Now, there are, you see, in the world ranking, there are certain parameters by which we measure growth of an economy. The gross domestic product, GDP, we use that one to, the meaning of GDP is monetizing all your products. Whatever you feel is the income of a particular nation, finished products, you monetize it. What is the worth? How much is it worth? Then you rate it. It is through that we now grade nations as, this nation is a nation of powerful economy. This nation is a nation of very weak economy. Like in US, that is in the forefront, first in the globe, it has GDP of 30.5 trillion. So that is the what, their finished product and other things. So that is, if you monetize their products, their worth, that is 30.5 trillion in a year, because it's based on yearly basis. And in China, which is the second one, 19 is about 19.23 trillion. 19.23 trillion, their GDP. Italy is the 8th on the list. Italy has 8.2 trillion GDP. Nigeria has no position, despite the oil and gas production. Nigeria has no position. Nigeria, the GDP of Nigeria as at now is 188. Not trillion, billion. We only approximate to 188 is 187.8. But we just round it 188. So that is the GDP. So despite the oil and gas. But why should this be? It's not supposed to be. We dish out 1.7 million barrels of oil per day. Though before President Tinubu assumed office, the minimum during Buhari's administration was 2 million barrels per day. But going down, then at a time when it started, shortly after it started, it was 1.5, then before it started appreciating. But presently it's 1.7. And for the gas production, 7.6 billion naira standard cubic feet per day. So the standard cubic feet, 7.6 billion per day. So with all this, there is no reason why we should not be at the top of the ladder of GDPs with other countries. We should be able. But what are we producing? In those days, like in the 1960s, like you said, the oil and gas had not surfaced predominantly. We are getting our GDP from agriculture. Even solid minerals, not so rampant, but mainly agriculture. But now, nothing like that.
Okay, because of our time, Prof, in one word, let's look at foreign exchange. I know when we started talking about, the trend of the economy, we may not leave the program today, let's talk about foreign exchange unification now. Has it worked?
It has not worked. When you talk of unification of exchange rate, you are talking of two things: willingness to sell
to
and
boost
willingness
to boost
to buy.
investors' confidence.
So now, what are the incentives on ground to encourage investors? We are backward. We are operating fake unification of exchange rate because one, in the international market, our trading system, do we maintain a balance? So we don't maintain any balance, because when we import luxurious things going to trillions of naira, what are we exporting? So you have to balance your trade, your trading system with what you export. In those days, we were exporting cocoa, exporting wood, exporting this, exporting that, cannot transfer. And they give us in return. So, but when we now balance the equation, when we now weigh our exports, the records of our exports and imports, then you see that they are balanced. Like when I was in NITEL, international calls from Nigeria through the national gateway, we have the records, and at the end of each month, each quarter, each year, okay, what are the calls that we should remit, the funds that we should remit to the foreign governments or foreign nations? What are our expectations from the calls made to Nigeria? Then we have a sort of balance. But in Nigeria, industrialization is zero. When you even talk of commercialization that is supposed to promote microeconomy, is also zero. And macro, even the macro, our refineries are not working. It's almost zero.
Okay, in one, we have less than minutes now. In one word, what should government be prioritizing now? Now we are 65-year-old nation. So what do you think the government should prioritize now, and your message to the general public? I'm talking about Nigerians now, about the state of the economy, and what should the government prioritize henceforth?
Now there should be emphasis on comprehensive theory of what we are doing. Most of the people in government, they don't know, or they are not proficient in economics. They are not economists, but they should have aides, advisors that are sound, that are proficient to guide them. But most of these people, they are also using politics. So there should be emphasis on comprehensive theory of how to grow our economy. Then with our productions, there should be field concentration. We should concentrate on the field. It's not only oil and gas alone. Even if it is agriculture, we have vast acres of land everywhere. If you travel, by the time you travel about 30 kilometers, you see lands. So let us formulate a program or a policy that will make people to utilize all this land, and let there be supervision. When we talk of production, when we produce, some are stolen, some are. Then when you say you want to distribute, like palliatives, the distribution is selective. We should not be.
Okay, in the last 28 minutes or thereabouts, I've been speaking with Professor Osrc, and at this point, let me say thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us on today's business. Prof, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, it is clear that Nigeria's economy journey is complex and multifaceted. And as the country marks the 65th year, one thing is clear: economy reform is no longer optional but inevitable. The road may be rough, but with the right policy choices, it can lead to shared prosperity. My name is Omoshidola Adetoye Ajayi. Thank you so much for being part of today's edition. Next week is another time, God willing. Do enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.